Hello and welcome back. If you're someone who's kind of been to my channel often before, love to know how you're doing, how your year's going. I've been quite lively, a lot of ups and downs in the past few months. I'm doing some traveling, so I'm definitely posting less. But in any case, today's video is about the Rom&nd Glasting Melting Balms, and I got this a while ago, honestly at least a month ago. I just haven't gotten a chance to really sit down, and I wanted to compare it to some other products. I was eager to get this. I actually thought about getting like the entire range when they first came out, but I just couldn't find a great option to ship the whole range to US. Like some were sold out on one site or another. And in any case, I have the shade 01 Cocoa Nude. I love the Rom&nd Juicy Lasting Tint, and I have a bunch of different colors. I love this line in particular in this light peachy packaging, and the shade number 22 Pomelo Skin is super subtle and really reminds me a lot of kind of what this new balmy line has to offer. So I wanted to compare the original like juicy lasting tint line with the Glasting Melting Balm, because these were clearly kind of made to mirror each other, whereas this balm is just in like a more glossy balmy formula. And then recently Peripera also has basically like a parallel lineup of items. For example, they also have like I think it's the Mood ink stain or tint or something, and they also just recently came out with a balmy version, which is their Peripera Mood Balm. I'll include all the links below. All of these products generally retail for around $10. Kind of can change the price on depending on which retailer you decide to go for. So again, I'll just include links at the bottom. So I'm gonna start out swatching the Glasting Melting Balm against the Juicy Lasting Tint that I have here. So here they are next to each other, and I picked these shades. Well, in particular, I love the Pomelo Skin one. It's like one of my perfect no makeup but makes my face look a lot better, more refined balms. It doesn't show up as much if my lips are more pigmented that day, but on days where my face looks really sullen because there's not much life on the color on my lips, this is the perfect thing to just give it a little bit of a hint of shine, but like you can't really tell what it is, and like a very natural color. This color doesn't particularly last long, but some of the other tints amongst the Juicy Lasting Tint lines do last quite a while. And then here is Cocoa Nude, which they're both similarly kind of peachy colors. The Cocoa Nude is a bit more orangey. But they're very different formulations, more so than I expected. So let me just pop on the Cocoa Nude. So these both have pretty strong scents, but different scents. This balm, it smells kind of like lychee jelly. It's quite fun, and it goes away after a few minutes, but it's definitely pretty strong going on. So I think there's like 8 shades total or so in this line, and this shade Cocoa Nude is one of the more subtle nude-er shades, obviously. And I think it's got not a huge amount of color. It has pretty much zero tint to it, but it is quite thick, quite balmy. It's not sticky, but it kind of feels on the lips like a sticky gloss, just without the sticky part. It's quite thick and viscous. Like if I try to mush my lips together, it really feels like there's something there, and because of that, it feels like it lasts a little bit longer. It has quite a noticeable shine to it, and I think it makes my lips look really healthy, really shiny for quite a while. It's quite useful, definitely on trend, really comfortable on the lips, and I think it has a very good like amount of pigment for a tinted lip balm. It's definitely noticeable, but it's not going to be anything that's going to get messy and unmanageable. So there is Cocoa Nude. So in contrast, I just wanted to show Pomelo Skin. So I really like the Juicy Lasting tints in general because they are a tint that have a bit of a moisturizing substance. They leave a little bit of moisture and glow to the lips, but they're not obviously balmy. The amount of like moist formula will fade pretty quickly, maybe in about 10 minutes, but you'll still be left with a pretty healthy and like naturally moisturized looking lip. It's not going to be shiny by any means, but it definitely just adds a lot of life. It's super even and adds like a small tint, at least this color does. But as you can see, it's kind of just adds more color to your actual lip as opposed to adding like shine on top. So if something really moisturizing and glossy balmy is what you're going for, you're gonna really like the Glasting Melting Balm. And this tint has also a pretty strong fruitier sweet scent to it. I can't exactly name if it parallels anything, but I really like this because I feel like it gives a very natural look overall. If I put on something like a tinted balm, I feel like the shine is quite noticeable. It looks like I've added something, which is fine. The color is still really subtle, but like if I'm trying to really look like a natural beauty, the Juicy Lasting tint is more so what I'll go for. Okay, and then I also wanted to show the Peripera Mood Balm in comparison to the Rom&nd Glasting Melting Balms, just because I also did a video comparing their, I think it's their Glow Mood ink against the Juicy Lasting tint. So they definitely just reminded me of each other, and they both came out with a balmy formulation around the same time. However, they're really quite different. So I'll go ahead and put on the Peripera one. There's nothing on my lips now, but you can see there's a little bit of stain slash just from rubbing my lips around. The color that I have is pretty different. I'll list what it was below because all I see on the packaging is that it's 04. I think in this lighting it's a little bit hard to tell. Here, I'll put it right against the Cocoa Nude. But you can kind of see on my hand already, the Cocoa Nude from Rom&nd is a bit thicker, and you can see that like the product will smear itself thicker, whereas the Peripera one is much thinner, and I have more of a mauve-y color. So here it is going on, and I'll just put on my top lip for now and show you how super subtle it is. There we go. In the tube, it looks like a pretty noticeable color. It was definitely not like the lightest color in the range, but on my lips, I feel like I have to put a lot on to get any color at all. I can definitely get away with just putting a thin layer and it basically looking like almost nothing, just a hint, a slight whisper of a mauve tint. The formulation is much thinner and more slippy than the Rom&nd one. All in all, I think they're very different lip balm formulations or tinted lip balm formulations. The tint is much more sheer and the formulation is much thinner. overall it doesn't feel quite as moisturizing as the Rom&nd one. This one feels a little bit more oily and slippy and thin. I think the colors that they offer in both the ranges are pretty, but for me this Peripera one definitely adds less moisturization and less lasting power and less pigment than the Rom&nd one. But that doesn't necessarily mean like one is better or worse. I think the packaging on the Peripera one is pretty nice. It feels like kind of heftier and more deluxe. It has much less of a scent. It still has a little bit of artificial sweetness, but it doesn't really overpower me as soon as I open the lid like the Rom&nd one does. And for those subtle days, this is an awesome one to just kind of throw on, to toss in my bag. Again, if it's like very dry out, maybe it's not the most moisturizing item, but I do like it for adding a little hint of something to my face. Yeah, I guess if you ever feel like you might want a more subtle effect, and then also because, hold on, let me switch back to the Rom&nd one. Oh yeah, it's scented. For me personally, the Rom&nd one can sometimes feel like a hint too thick even. It's very plush, and I definitely feel that there's something on my lips, whereas the Peripera one is much more weightless and I pretty much forget about it instantly. I like both, but again, they are very different, so I hope this description can maybe help you figure out which one you prefer. I've been reaching for both of these pretty similarly often. Honestly, maybe the Peripera one more. I just think it's like more subtle and fits my use cases better generally. But again, definitely a preference thing. These days I've been reaching a lot for my kind of tinted balm types of products. I pretty much just throw one into any jacket pocket while I'm on my way out. It is winter lately, and yeah, it's just been what I go for. I think that most people will probably think the Peripera one is too thin. That's just my guess. Let me know if you have any thoughts, if this was helpful. Thanks as always for watching.